The Chamber, so good. I mean, this thing was awesome. And I mean, for this, not really for this one, but for normal, like when I do the weekly podcast and I have to read something, I read it really quick, and because it's work, it's not sitting back in a hammock and relaxing and having a drink and just enjoying it just for the love of the book. So it's like work. And then I started this one, and for a second I was like, oh, it might be like that because I'm going to want to give this a blurb and everything. And then it turned into one of those reading experiences like I used to have before it was for work, when it was just about the magic and the words in these pages. And it was so refreshingly great. Just super fired up about it. So for anybody listening, if they haven't picked up The Chamber yet, go pick it up right now, anywhere books are sold. And you can get it for 15% off by going to my website. This is part of the book club. You can go there, partnering with independent bookstores, trying to get people to go to those stores. It's a little harder to go and order something for a small independent bookstore rather than just hit the easy button on Amazon or something like that. So it's part of an effort to get people to read and also to support local independent bookstores. So they can go to my website and find out where you can get this 15% off, but pick it up, add it to your library. But before I get to this and what led to this and all the research that went into this, which I want to ask you about, a couple rapid fires. So I know you grew up in a house that didn't have books everywhere, but you went to the local library. And I'm going to ask you about that a little bit more in a second, but favorite book from those formative years that you checked out from a library?
That's a good question. There were a few. When I was really young, it was Roald Dahl, and it was Danny the Champion of the World.
Mm.
Which for me it's all about fatherhood. It's about a man and a boy living in a little caravan in the woods, and it's about hunting and it's about poaching, and it's about this poor kid who hasn't got his mom there. And it's such bold writing because the first page is from the boy's perspective, from Danny's perspective, saying his mom was dead. Imagine doing that in a children's book. Like, it's very dark.
I remember that. I haven't thought about it in years, and I remember that now. Wow.
Yeah, I love the way he doesn't patronize kids. Like, it's straight in there. And then the whole book is about social injustice and like some toffee-nosed British aristocrat and getting one back on him and stealing all of his birds and poaching and hunting. And it's all about being a little bit wild, like keeping the wild kid inside of you alive, which I really like. Yeah. So that book resonated a lot. And my favorite book as an adult, sorry if I'm leaping forward, but my favorite book as an adult is The Road by Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah.
And for me, they're almost kind of companion novels, I think, because they're both about father and son.
Yeah.
Isolated, just trying to get through. They're both very different, but it's that father-son story which really resonates with me.
Have you read both of those books multiple times?
Yeah. I've read Danny the Champion of the World maybe, I don't know, 10 times, mainly as a kid, and now to my boy. And then The Road, I must have read it 15 times. I read it every time I write a new book. I read it before I start the first draft.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
It's like a superstition, or it gets me in that zone and then I'm in.
That's interesting. So, the showrunner of The Terminalist and now Terminalist Dark Wolf and True Believer, before he starts writing, he watches about 15 minutes of a movie and maybe a show, but he sits down and he might do it on the rower, but regardless, he watches that just to get him in that frame of mind, that storytelling, and then he's into it. So I think it's a good, a really cool thing. I don't have a ritual like that, and I think I might need one. But it's like a primer, like a little primer. That cues probably you mentally that, hey, it's time to either start your book or, hey, to start writing for the day. So I think I might need something like that. I'm going to add that to my list of things to do.
I think you're doing just fine. But yeah, I think maybe like a shortcut where you're in that kind of world. It really helps me, and I like having a very strict routine as well, so that I know what I need to be doing when I'm sitting in that chair.